Welcome to Happy Learning. Today we'll see audio processing in DSP. Myself Indra S, Assistant Professor, Department of Electronics, Sri Ramakrishna College of Arts and Science, Coimbatore. Before learning about audio processing, we must know the area it covers. There are three different areas. One is high fidelity music reproduction such as audio compact disc, voice telecommunication, that's nothing but telephone networks, synthetic speech where computers generate and recognize human voice pattern. See, if you take these applications, they have a common goal. One is human, it at all linked with one common thing is human ear. So before going to learn about the audio processing, we must know how a human ear is recognizing the audio. Here is the functional block diagram of the human ear. The outer ear composed of two parts, visible flap of skin, cartilage attached to the side of the head, followed by ear canal. This is the ear canal, a tube-like structure, 0.5 centimeter in diameter, 3 centimeter extending into the head. The main structure directs the sound from outside into the middle and inner ear, which are located safely inside the skull bones. Stretched across the ear canal, there is a thin sheet of tissue is at the end of the ear canal. This thin sheet is called tympanic membrane, or we can say ear drum. The sound waves from outside, it will strike this thin sheet. This thin sheet may tend to vibrate. And this is a middle ear. It consists of a set of bones. This middle ear transfers the vibration from tympanic membrane to the inner ear. This inner ear is nothing but cochlea, which will convert this vibration into a neural impulses. This cochlea is a liquid filled tube, roughly 2 mm in diameter and 3 cm in length. This cochlea is curled up and looks like a snail. That's why the cochlea is a Greek word. Its meaning for snail. See, normally when a sound from outside, it will try to process from air and it will process into the liquid, as a cochlea is a liquid filled tube. A small fraction of sound will be transmitted, where remainder will be reflected. And here the mechanical energy differs. Here air and here liquid. So liquid has high mechanical impedance when compared to air. To explain with a simple example, take your hand, you just float your hand in air as well as liquid. You have to put more effort to float your hand in liquid than air. So air has low mechanical impedance, liquid has high mechanical impedance. So to match this impedance, this middle ear acts as an impedance matching network. Normally fish do not have this middle ear or ear drum. Why? Because fish don't need to hear sound in air, as it is living in water. This ear drum has an area of 60 mm square, while this oval window, here this oval window has the area of 4 mm square. So normally the area differs. Since the area differs, the pressure is equal to force divided by area. So the difference in area increases the sound pressure. Think of it, here 60 area, here 4. So the difference is 15 times. So the sound pressure will be increased by 50 times. This cochlea, come to this point, this cochlea consists of basilar membrane. This basilar membrane consists of 12,000 sensory cells forming this cochlear nerve. This basilar membrane stiffest at the oval window and more flexible towards the opposite end. It acts as a frequency spectrum analyzer. When exposed to the high frequency, the basilar membrane which is nearer to this oval window resonates. If it is low frequency, the membrane which is far away from this oval window will resonate, will respond it. So this will excite the nerve cell in the basilar membrane and it will create the nerve impulses. This is the concept of place principle. Another information coding method is used in human hearing, that is called as Wolay principle. Why? Because the sound waves in air strikes this membrane and it will move to the liquid, and here the nerve will respond to the vibration based on the frequency. And what this nerve will do? This nerve cells transmits your information by electrical pulse called action potential. So this is encoding one form of information into another form of information called action potential in response to each vibration. So each vibration, it will, according to each vibration, this nerve cells will respond and produce action potential. For example, if it is 2000 Hertz sound wave, normally it will produce vibration according to that 2000 action potential will be generated. Suppose if you think of it more than 3000 Hertz in this sense, so the 10 nerve cell, this 10 nerve cell at a time works and it will produces 300 action potential per second. So based on the frequency it will work. That's all about the functioning of the human ear. Here I have listed a few points what I have discussed in the diagram about the structure of the human ear, and this is the function of the human ear, where the sound waves passes, middle ear act as an impedance matching network, and the basilar membrane responds to the vibration and it will produce action potential. And now come to the next thing which is used to express sound intensity on a logarithmic scale called decibel. Decibel is a sound wave power of 10 power minus 16. Normal speech is about 60 dB, while painful, which causes damage to the ear, is 140. We all know that the range of human hearing is generally considered to be 20 Hz to 20 kHz. But it is far more sensitive to sounds between 1 kHz and 4 kHz. Here is the table I have given. In this table, it ranges from softer towards the louder, the weak audible at 100 Hz. We all know that 0 dB is very weakest audible and 60 dB is normal conservation, and this is health organization have given a standard for industrial noise 90 dB and 120 your discomfort and 140 will be more painful. So it ranges from softer towards the louder. The primary advantage of having two ears is ability to identify the direction of the sound. The human listeners can detect the difference between two sound sources that are placed as little 3 degrees apart about the width of the person at 10 meters. This directional information can be obtained in two separate ways. First, frequency above about 1 kHz is strongly shadowed by the head. In other words, ear nearest the sound receives strongest signal then the ear on the opposite sides of the head. Second, second clue to the directionality is ear on the far side of the head hears the sound slightly later than the nearer ear because due to the distance from the source. So this is one way of identifying the direction of the sound. While human hearing can determine the direction of a sound, it is properly in identifying the distance to the sound source. This is because sound waves dissipate their higher frequency as propagate longer distance. Think of it, if somebody is talking, you're far away means it will propagate through the air, and it will, when it passes through the long distance, it may tends to dissipate their frequency. And one more thing is echo content. Echo content is another clue to identify the distance. It's providing perception of the room size. For example, a sound in the large auditorium will contain echoes at about 100 milliseconds intervals, whereas in the small room 10 milliseconds. So these are all the things can be used to identify the direction of the sound. Next we will see the another important topic in hearing process is timbre. The perception of the continuous sound. For example, if you are hearing a song or hearing a note from a musical instrument, there are three different parts. Has been divided into three different parts. One is loudness, pitch, timbre. Loudness, it is a measure of sound wave intensity. Pitch, it's the frequency of the fundamental component in the sound. Timbre is somewhat more complicated. It is determined by the harmonic content of the sound. Hearing is based on amplitude and frequency and sensitive to the phase. Just think of the two diagrams. The two diagrams, amplitude is somewhat different, whereas frequency is same and the phase shift is different. Even though the phase shift, there is a changes in the phase shift, the human can't able to differentiate the sound. I could explain this with another example. There is a violin waveform. In this violin waveform, this is the note being played by the violin instrument. This figure A, this figure is the played by the violin instrument, and this is the frequency component, fundamental, and the harmonics. Even the sound is the same note is played by the different instrument. Even though you get different waveform, different waveform, that the sound is, the human could not vary the note. The harmonic content is determined by the shape of the waveform. So timbre is nothing but the changes in the shape of the waveform, but this will not be identified by the ear because the ear are insensitive to the phase. The same sound will be played by the different instrument. Maybe the diagram will changes, but the ear could not identify the phase of the waveform. So the timbre is determined by the shape of the waveform. This is what we discussed. Next, the quality of the sound is very important. High fidelity music we already discussed. Then telephonic communication, some sort of quality is required, and compressed speech, the data reduction is very important, and this includes military communication, cellular telephones, and digitally stored speech for voicemail and multimedia. Normally we all know that the CD, where the data rate of sampling data rate is 41.4 kilohertz with 16 bits. So normally you can able to store 706 kilobits per second. So when you are processing as audio, you must know the hearing ability of the human as well as the quality of the sound. So today we have seen what is meant by audio processing, and how it has been important quality of human hearing. After human hearing, we have seen what is meant by timbre and at last quality. Thank you so much. Thank you for patiently listening.